I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. Hey, what's up, world? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like right here at Black Power Media. I'm Jared Ball, joined by my main man, Geechee. Y'all, what's up, sir? How you doing this morning?
Doing well, brother. How you feeling?
I'm as good as could be expected. Yeah, as good as could be expected. As good as could be expected. It's good to see you, though. It's good to be here. It's good to see folks coming in. So we want to welcome all the live remixers, and invite others to join us. We have a bunch happening this morning, a couple of guests coming through. It may be, well, folks will bear with us if there are any issues. But off the top, let me just remind people to support Black Power Media. Get your merch, get yourself a good mug, get yourself one of these fly t-shirts that it's still not on properly. Gotta get in that joint. There you go. Get the good BPM tees and backpacks and all that kind of stuff. blackpowermedia.org. Some project announcements to still coming up that you can help support by doing so, and more. So as I see Diallo getting set to join us, and we'll bring him on. Good morning, brother. Good to see you. Welcome.
Good morning.
So I know that we have like I said, we have a couple guests coming on. We're going to be talking about the killing of 18-year-old Donnell Rochester this morning in a few minutes. And I think we're going to be, there's a story I'm still catching up to, a brother killed right here in Maryland, and by the police, of course. And there's a lot to get to. So we're going to be joined by, it looks like, his mother and maybe his aunt as well. And then Geechee, tell us about who else is going to be joining us in the second hour.
So it's
if you would.
Yeah, sister who's an organizer in St. Louis named ML, and she'll be talking about a case with Kevin Johnson, who's dealing with a mistrial. I think they're setting to kill him in prison. So she'll talk about that case and kind of give us
a death row situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So well, that's again, we didn't plan it this way. It just seems to be working out this way, that we have a show chock full of state-sponsored killing of African people in one form or another. So good morning. Happy Friday.
Right. Yeah.
Oh boy. I know that there was one thing this a piece to my myth of black buying power work that is continuing to unfold for me that I at least wanted to bring up this morning, at least to get us started. And I'll obviously be dealing with it more and more as we go. I'm still working on this cryptoganda essay for the Organization of Propaganda Studies and the Propaganda in Focus website, which is somewhat related to this as well. But as I've mentioned a little bit before, there seems to have been a shift in the origins of the claim of the myth of buying power, particularly as it pertains to Black folks, where traditionally, and it still does primarily come out of the Selig Center, with support still by Nielsen, although, as Ben Chavis has told us, Nielsen won't be working with the Black press anymore in producing these reports, so we'll have to see how that goes. But there's been a new player that seems to have stepped up into the mix, and that's McKinsey and Company. And I've been dealing with them in their reports, some of which I had already cited in the book already. And over the last couple of years, I've been noticing they've been popping up more and more and more. They are a consulting company whose reach goes beyond what I had initially thought of. So what I'm going to do is I want to play a clip of a video that just came out the other day talking about this. Just a little clip of it, and yeah, and then we'll come back to it. Here we go.
Consulting firms, since they're private industries, operate on the logic of businesses and profit. The author, journalist, and, as it turns out, former McKinsey consultant Anand Giridharadas writes about the way consulting works in his book, Winners Take All. Here he is describing how consulting firms present themselves and the messages that they communicate. McKinsey, like Goldman, had a persuasive story to tell. It was a place where you could change the world, improve lives, invent something new, solve a complex problem. But these firms were in fact channeling a widespread dogma of the market as the place for world changing and of market types as ideal world changers. Consulting firms exist to deliver a central message, that change is the exclusive domain of the private sector, that governments might have good intentions, but that markets are more effective, more efficient, and more capable of bringing about any desirable outcome, including social justice. This message that's at the core of consulting firms, and more broadly neoliberalism, suggests that governments should therefore try to act like the private sector, to adopt its logic and its methods, or downright outsource responsibilities if they really want to make good on their promises. In other words, if they want to work, governments have to start acting like startups. And to do that, they have to hire consultants to show them how. The problem is that consulting firms don't typically end up delivering on the promise of efficient social justice for one key reason. Profit and social justice don't mix. According to consultants, you can always find a win-win solution that satisfies both the good thing you're trying to do and helps your bottom line. You can always do well by doing good, but the reality is you can't. But consulting firms try to sell it like this. Capitalism is in crisis. People are wary of big business and blame it for the major social, economic, and environmental problems they face. Businesses are accused of profiting at the general public's expense, and the public's not wrong. But we, consultants, we can fix businesses and society at the same time. We can align businesses and their immediate goals of profit with social responsibility. Consulting can help get rid of outdated methods of value creation that hurt the image of the capitalist economy today. Basically, if you're a business owner, don't worry, the consultants are here, and we're going to rehabilitate capitalism. And that's not me, JT from Second Thought, saying that. That's Michael Porter and Mark Kramer, two consulting firms.
Whoops, what's going on here?
From founders writing in the Harvard Business Review. In practice, this works about as well as you can imagine. Consulting firms don't rehabilitate capitalism as much as they give it more room to breathe. When they work with governments, as in France, they are there to dismantle the state apparatus bit by bit.
All right, so anyway, that is, I think, a quick enough, brief enough summary there. But you can start to see the problem that consultants don't care about actual social justice or material or lived experience inequality. They're only concerned about the bottom line. By the way, I think I had it backwards, right? I think Ichi, your guest is coming up. We got is at 8:30, right? And then the one I was about the guest I was talking about with the Rochester case will be on in the second hour.
Nah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
So when we see just from that quick piece, when we see McKinsey getting involved and being involved, and in fact, the company is I think close to 100 years old, and has been consulting and doing various versions of this for that long, all over the world. I obviously had not looked that carefully at their overall reach, which I am doing now. But one problem that they're involved in, and because I don't have a subscription, I'm blocked here. But they're being sued for having helped promote with Purdue Pharma the opioid crisis. So and I talked a little bit about on the remix last year. I think it was last year, the end of last year, whenever it was, the series Dope Sick, which was, I thought, really well done, about the rise of the opioid crisis in the white working class community, the coal mining community in particular. And a lot of what was the issue was, how were these pills being marketed both to doctors and then to the public? And apparently McKinsey had a lot to do with that. And with oxycodone being more apparently addictive and powerful than morphine and heroin, and available in pill form, and pushed as a safe replacement for those drugs. But anyway, in part because of the framing of the argument and the PR work of people like firms like McKinsey. But so then when we see them, as I've been talking about a little bit here, and then I'll wrap it up here for now, is that when we see them again coming into Black economic discussion and Black spaces to most specifically and recently through the Afrotech conferences that are going around the country talking about Black spending power, how to use it to our advantage, and involve the tech and software community in terms of developing, again, alternative business and entrepreneurial pathways to Black inequality. And then we see that right in the mix involved in these conversations are people like the senior partner and leader of research on Black economic mobility at McKinsey and Company, Shelley Stewart, who hit the stage with Blavity's Tamira Gordon and highlighted the economic opportunity that comes when there is a focus on the people who make it happen as it pertains to buying power. So, and then really lastly is that, as I've shared, and I'm waiting to see how this unfolds, I think my explanation to a very wealthy foundation that their misreading of McKinsey reports was confusing their nominal efforts in addressing Black inequality, I think I messed myself up for a paycheck. So I think I did. So
Did you shit on their ideas of funding or getting Black entrepreneurs more money?
I had to be, I did have to be honest that because they had sent me in advance of the meeting an article discussing an article by McKinsey and Company about Black consumerism, which I had already cited and critiqued, and they were asking basically how can this very well-funded foundation tied tightly to the corporate world encourage corporate involvement in positively addressing economic inequality and helping Black people with this buying power. And so I had to start, my portion of the meeting by saying, I think you've all misread what buying power is. This article does what a long tradition of these reports have been doing in claiming advertising and marketing as actual Black wealth. And we would need to come up with a whole other plan if there was a real, hope that you could have some sort of positive intervention. It wouldn't come this way. And there's been no follow-up. So anyway, but the real point, I think that's a kind of funny twist to this, for me, personal twist to this story. But the real point that I would want to be making is that, as I've been trying to make in a variety of ways, I think we all have in various ways, is that what is happening to Black people here in the United States is very specific and particular, but is still connected to an international and global process, economically, politically, etc. So that, in other words, the very forces that have been involved in promoting Black capitalism and entrepreneurialism as a pathway to revolutionary change for Black people are the very forces that on a much higher macro level are doing the same thing internationally with governments, et cetera, and so forth, basically privatizing federal and theoretically or nominally democratically elected governments to turn them into private businesses that must act on the whim and the so it's not that these states have not always been colonial and traditionally going in that direction, but here you have basically PR specialists helping devise plans, models, messaging to carry out that colonial process and model, and then that is directed and targeted at Black people specifically with very similar effect, I would argue. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
And we can't look beyond how, unbelievably successful they are, because, as I navigate my community, this cult of entrepreneurialism is just so ingrained, where I constantly get accused of being pro-poverty or promoting poverty or wanting Black people to be poor. And, I always try to point out that, capitalism, if you're a Black capitalist, you are the poverty promoter, because capitalism doesn't create wealth. It only concentrates wealth. As the socialist is anti-mass poverty. So, I mean, we can't overlook just how effective this has been into ingraining these values into the victims. And whereas the victims are allies in their own mass manipulation and allies and cheerleaders for their own exploitation.
Yeah, no, right on. And yeah, there was a question. Now I lost the comment, but there was a question. I was talking about McKinsey and McKinsey and Company, or McKinsey Company Associate, whatever they're called, which I had no idea was this big and this old. Yeah,
huge. I was looking at a lot of it. I think 130 cities there, and 130.
Yeah, I mean they're all over the world.
65 countries.
Yeah. And advising people to again, it's the same old model, the austerity model. Cut off all services and benefits and anything that might benefit poor and working people, and invest more in capitalism.
But I read a whole bunch about representation. Almost every sentence they said something about representation, and then I also saw them getting into making sure that you have more Black people in the film industry. So I see a partnership with them and Charlemagne or Black Privilege Publishing. It's pretty coming up soon.
You're saying you're predicting a McKinsey relationship with
Charlemagne and the Black Privilege Publishing Company? I'm seeing that's coming in the future because they're trying to increase some Black exposure in film industry, or representation. And he prided himself after putting Black women on. So I'm pretty sure they're gonna have a partnership soon.
Dr. Jared Ball, sponsored by Pfizer in a partnership with Purdue and Association of United African American Global Capital Entrepreneurship Initiative, presented by National Endowment for Democracy. That's it. And you about to see all three of us step up our game as a result. Coming here in some shiny new gear. Diallo gonna be running through the streets of Chicago in his I don't even know what the thing is, in his Bugatti.
Hey, I predict Diallo getting fired first, and then I'll be second.
When I get on, I'm not getting off. Don't play with me.
Oh, I heard that.
I'm staying on.
Hey, they gonna play that old video, that capitalism panel we had when you started cursing out entrepreneurs.
Right. But that's what I say. But if I get on, that's it. I can't help poor people by being a poor person.
That's what Jay-Z said. How can I help the poor if I'm one of them?
Right.
That's
exactly.
it.
Second by T.I. on BPM.
Right. How can I help Black people if I'm one of y'all too? So when I get on, I'm doing the Michael Jackson, everything. I'm features change.
You don't have to do all of that though. You can transcend Blackness now without the physical transformation.
Without going under the knife. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. You just have to.
My mindset.
I don't know. I'm just.
Rachel Dolan's off. You can do it.
If I get put on. If I get put on, like Little Nas X said, I used to hate capitalism until I became a millionaire. So
did he say that?
Mm-hmm. The champion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the social justice hero. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was leading the new day, leading the world to a new day.
By motivating and inspiring other Black people to become millionaires. Yeah. I mean, but you know what? I felt that was so honest. I tried to get mad about it, but I'm like, man, it's just I had always advocated that wealthy and famous Black people should at least tell the truth about the nature of the fame, their rise to fame. And more importantly, I wanted wealthy Black people to start actually telling the truth about how to sustain wealth, because we love the rags to riches story, but I see that we pay so little attention on what it takes to sustain wealth. In terms of investments, in terms of how do you have to fully embrace the status quo and to sustain and expand wealth in capitalism means you can't be a good guy and a capitalist at the same time. So he's one of the few people who ever was honest at that level and at that height of success and exposure. So yeah, when he said that, I tried to get mad at it, but I appreciate that honesty.
Well, he's truthful. I mean, if everyone was a millionaire, wouldn't that solve everything? Wouldn't that make
for about a day and a half? But after all the yachts are on the sea and churning up the ocean, and the polar ice caps finally melt, and so yeah, we would intensify and expedite the total collapse of the planet's ecosystem if everybody became a millionaire. Yeah. So we'd have a great party for about a week and a half, and that's it. We go extinct. So, which is what we're getting to anyway. Even though most of us in poverty, we're still arriving at that outcome. So, I guess.
So, no doubt. I want to just real quick. I was looking at my notes here. There was something I meant to share with everybody. I think I mentioned it the other day, but I want to share this. I want to actually read this email I got. These are the little victories I have to hope for from my job, by the way. Just a slight transition here real quick, if you both don't mind. But we can easily jump back because this is short. I forgot to bring this up a minute ago. I should have looked at my notes. Look, I got this email the other day from let's see, from an administrative assistant placed, let me just say, somewhere within the university at Morgan State. I don't think I need to be more specific. And the email says, "Good afternoon, Dr. Ball. I hope all is well. I believe the attached voicemail message was intended for you. The caller mentioned that he intended to reach Dr. Ball, but he called our department. It's another department that I'm not in, by the way. You were the only person I can think of who may be closely associated with the content of the caller's message. Thank you," end quote. And I thought it was funny because the caller's message, it was specifically for me, and it's this long, and I appreciate it. In fact, I can't. Can I open it? I should play it because it's basically it's literally 2 minutes and 59 seconds of a call from a brother somewhere in the country, praising me. And just I saw Dr. Ball somewhere, and he said what I wanted him to say and what needed to be said. And it's just I'm proud that Morgan State University would hire and employ such a good brother. I mean, it was just going on and on. 2 minutes and 59 seconds. And when I figure out how to rip it off of this email, I'm gonna make everybody listen to it. That's how dope. But the real reason that I like it so much is that you know, it's not always true that everything is hunky-dory at the workplace. And when there's people over there, you know, hating, it's good to know that it's like I'm unavoidable. You know what I'm saying? It's like they try to suppress and marginalize it. People, I've run into people on campus, they're like, I didn't even know you were still here. I got moved around so much. I was in the mailroom picking up a package. And shout out to the mailroom at Morgan State. Good people working down there. And we were having a good old time. They were laughing. They were like, where you at, Dr. Ball? You know, I was like, they keep moving me. You know what I mean? They keep moving me.
Do you get to see Dr. Ship, ER Ship?
No, because I was how what's the best way to put it? I no longer work in her school. And to be fair, while I was messing with you on Facebook and saying that whoever was saying that they were Dr. Ship was or Professor Ship was saying something nice, was greeting me, was a bot. To this day I don't believe it was her. You know, with all due respect to the great Professor Ship, we're not on the same team. So I was like, how in the world would this person claiming to be her, you know, send me this, you know, so that's why I said, email me if it's you. And there was no email.
Oh,
I think it was a bot or a hack or something.
I don't know. I ain't heard from her in a while. We got some South Carolina ties, so I ain't hear from her in a while. I thought that was
so. I think the best. Oh man, we'll talk off air, but I think the best thing I can say publicly is that, and it is an honest assessment, because what I think happens at a lot of workplaces, and certainly at the university for sure, is that under certain leadership, you know, people are encouraged away from cordiality. You know, certain leadership comes in. So as I was told, I was defined by the former dean in a meeting. I was told that it was said of me that I was the in the context of, remember when they were talking about catching Osama bin Laden, and they used a deck of cards as a you know, to highlight who was who, and somebody was I think he was the ace and someone was the king or whatever else. The person I heard from said that this former dean was defining me as the ace of spades. Like, he is target number one. He is Osama. He is Osama. You know, and what I think that does is it creates a context, you know, it's where people are discouraged from remaining friendly. Yeah. So that's why when I was like, she's on here, hey, or Dr. But whatever she was saying, I was like, nah, that can't be you. That's not you. Email me if that's you. And there was no email. So
well,
anyway, you know.
it's kind of funny that ties into where you were talking about the McKinsey group and running governments like a business. And I see, you know, universities are also run like businesses, and this competitive attitude where, oh, you have to compete with your colleagues in order to advance. And it's the same. Capitalism has also inundated and infected, you know, academia and the school institutions, where they're being run like a business all over Chicago. I see billboards for the various universities and hospitals too. You know, my background of working in allied healthcare, I actually got in the early 90s, and I was a part of that transitions of operating hospitals as a public good and switching to operating it as a private company or a profit-driven institution. So
Diallo, yeah. That's perfect. The dean I'm talking about, who's now gone, and I know our first guest is here, so I'll wrap it here.
Oh boy,
He said the very first thing he did when he got there was give us an article about the teaching hospital model. And the article, and he said, this is how we're going to run our school. And the article basically was saying that if you want the funding from all the big pharmaceutical companies and you want all that medical technology and all that hot new machine or whatever in your hospital, you have to be teaching your residents the way these companies want them taught. And what he was saying was, we're going to be teaching our students how to get jobs in corporate media. Yeah. So we want their money. That's what we're going to be doing here. And all of you, particularly with PhDs who were targeted, that was his those of you with PhDs are to be sidelined if you're not going to get on board. So that's where the first line was drawn, literally in his first meeting, when he showed up. So Professor Shipp, coming out of the professional journalism world, was by his design put on another side of a divide. So even in the end, whatever disagreements we may have had, I ultimately don't. In the final analysis, I don't blame her. It was the context that was put there. So anyway, Geechee, I know we got a guest. I don't want to belabor the point. We can come back to all of this. I can whine and complain about the job forever. So let's take a very quick transition break and come right back here. That makes what I like. Black Power Media. Don't go anywhere. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. All right, welcome ML Smith, and Geechee, go ahead and take it away.
Peace. Welcome ML. So obviously we want to just kind of get a snapshot of what's going on with brother KJ, and then I guess a snapshot of what happened, but also where we at right now too. So you can introduce yourself and then get into that.
Okay, you all can hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so good morning all. My name again is ML Smith. I work for an organization. It is called Missourians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty. So what we do, of course, is advocate for the abolition of the death penalty, but we also support those on death row and pending cases as well. So I reached out to Geechee a few weeks ago because our next person who is potentially, and I'll say potentially, going to be receiving an execution date is a young man whose case was very just horrible. And so we're doing all we can to support him. So his name is KJ, and it's actually Kevin Johnson. We call him KJ. And he is a person who had a very divisive case back at that time, which was 2005. And I tell people that KJ's case in his community is like pre-Ferguson. And to also explain, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, which is Ferguson is a suburb here. So we're definitely, aware of those tensions between the cops and the police. So basically what happened was in 2005, there was a community called Meacham Park, and it was a poor Black neighborhood, maybe a couple thousand residents, and they were in unincorporated St. Louis County, and they existed as a poor Black people, how we live. The houses weren't the greatest, and, they were a struggling community. So, but the property abutted to a major road. And at some point, a larger community, a white community called Kirkwood, they decided, we want to get that land close to that road because we want to build a shopping plaza. They put a Walmart, a Sam's, Target. Right now it's an entire, shopping district. And to get the property from Meacham Park, they agreed to, certain things, to give them money, to build them better homes, to bring them up under the umbrella of Kirkwood, like City Hall, police, and those sorts of things. But which was overall, it was good at that time because those people did get a lot of help. They got, newer homes built. They, became more of a, not affluent, but more of a working class neighborhood is what it became. However, we know that, police and poor Black people don't mix well, right? So the police began basically harassing and targeting the neighborhood, as we know they do. They were poor people. Different situations began happening. Of course, they were stealing out of the stores. People were stealing out of the stores that were just built. And just a lot was going on at that time. So KJ was a young man who was struggling. His parents were, either on drugs or in jail. He lived in a home of 10 children, and his grandmother raised all of them. And so we all know that is a difficult situation with a house of 10 kids with one grandmother. And so he, was he had a little brother. So his brother was 12. And he was, his brother's protector, his keeper. Their parents weren't around. So he took on that role of, I need to make sure my little brother's okay. So one day, July 5th of 2005, day after, the holiday, the police in that area who had been harassing them for years, they came to his grandmother's home looking for KJ for some minor warrants. And honestly, I can't remember what he did, stealing or, some small drug sales or something. I can't honestly recall, but he did some minor crimes of what they considered crimes. And they came looking for him. KJ wasn't at home. He was at a neighbor's house, but his little brother was at the house. And his little brother had a heart condition. And so it was people told me the name. It was a congenital heart defect that he had. He started having a seizure when the police came, right? The little 12-year-old. Now, it would be incumbent on the police to call an ambulance. The child is seizing in front of you. They hadn't made it in the house yet. This was right like outside on the porch area, the front yard. So instead of calling 911, calling the ambulance, getting the kid to the hospital, they basically stepped over this baby's body, right? And went into the house to look for KJ because they wanted to serve their warrant. They wanted to clear the house, as police call it. And they left this child out front seizing. About 10 minutes later, they came back out. They finally did call an ambulance, and KJ died. I'm sorry, his brother, they called him Bam Bam. We all have nicknames in our family. So they called him Bam Bam, and Bam Bam died by the time they got to the hospital. Of course, everyone in the community was torn up. And I actually remember that. I lived not far from that area at the time, and it was all over the news. It was just a very difficult time. So later that night, the police came back to the neighborhood, apparently because of fireworks, is what they said, fireworks. Because I don't know about everywhere else, but here you're not supposed to, shoot fireworks. So they came back that night, and KJ saw them, and he was, 19. He was upset. He had been through trauma his entire life, and his brother was his entire world. And he killed one of the policemen. And of course, and I shouldn't have to say this, but I do tell people, we at this organization, we are, an anti-death penalty organization. We don't believe in killing anyone. I can't justify what he did because I wish I wouldn't have to advocate for KJ right now. I wish he was at home with his family, but he's not. So he did commit this crime, and he was arrested, of course. And again, it went, what we call.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're saying he came back at that moment and on that same scene, and what is he said to have done? He just showed up and shot a cop. Is that what it was, or?
Yeah, well, it wasn't at that moment. It was that evening. So this happened earlier in the day, and the police left. Of course, they left, but they came back that night under the guise of stopping people from firing fireworks. I don't think that's what they were there for. Right. But they said, that's what the call was about, fireworks. So when they came back to the community at night, KJ saw, the officers, and this one particular officer who he did shoot and subsequently killed was one who had been harassing them for years. He was the bad cop in the neighborhood, or whatever terminology they used for him. Yeah.
Real quick, that's what I was about to ask. So I know right now, Daniel Herschel is becoming commodified and famous on We Own the City, and we know that their cops are like that. So was that cop there at the scene when his brother was violently left to die? Was that same cop there? And were there interactions with that same cop that could have been more of self-defense or whatever the case may be in the second interaction?
Yes, that cop was there earlier that day. He was one of the police. There were several, but he was one of the police on scene. And from what I've been told by people in that community, he is one of the cops that over years did most of the harassing, and several police departments have those ultra horrible cops that they don't stop, right? They don't do anything about them, but those that for sure, always, no matter where they go, they're going to start some mess. So he was that particular cop in that community. Now, that night when they went back, I don't know if they necessarily approached KJ, but they came back, and I don't believe it was about fireworks. They were, because they didn't get him earlier that day. They went to serve a warrant on him, but he wasn't there. So they were still, of course, looking for him. And so he, saw them, and because he was going through so much and had been through so much, his whole life had been a world of abandonment, trauma, and now with his 12-year-old brother, he just was not thinking clearly.
And I'm sorry again. Wait, just you're saying they were already trying to serve a warrant on KJ,
right?
And what was that for?
Earlier that day, they had a warrant for his arrest, and I believe it was some minor stealing and possibly like marijuana charges. I don't actually, when I read his case, it did say minor charges. It didn't say he was wanted for like murder or anything of that nature. It was just a minor theft. They also in that community would give people tickets for parking your car on your grass, because again, we're Black people, you know what I'm saying? So people will park their cars on the grass to fix them or whatever. They gave people tickets for all kind of idiotic reasons. But KJ's case at that point was some minor theft charges, or selling marijuana or something like that, burglary or something. It wasn't anything where they needed to, they felt threatened for their lives. They had to go in the house to find him, which again, he wasn't there anyway.
And that's why they were there and stepped over his brother who was seized. Yeah. Right. I'm sorry. Okay.
No problem.
Yeah. Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So it was a, so as you can tell, it was, all in the news. Black boy kills cop, that whole situation. So at the time, we also had a prosecutor who was horrible, right? He's gone now, thankfully. But he was a prosecutor. Right now, I am helping 3 men who were wrongfully convicted, and this prosecutor put them in prison. So this is a prosecutor that was in office for 27 years, and he was horrid that entire time. And so he made sure their first trial was a mistrial, but he made sure KJ was convicted and sentenced to death. So he's been on death row since. And we actually have 17 people on our death row. KJ is one of them, and his case is up next. So the main reason that this is so horrible right now is because our attorney general is running for Senate, right? In Missouri, our attorney general's name is Eric Schmidt, and he is, I call him, our governor and our attorney general, I call them Trump and Barr Light, because we literally have baby Trump and baby Barr. And I'm not even, people always know Texas is horrible and the governor in Florida, y'all ain't been in Missouri. Of course, Diallo has, and he understands, but you don't understand these people here. Our attorney general and our governor are our attorney general spent Christmas with Trump because he was trying to get Trump's endorsement to run in office for the Senate race. He wasn't with his family on Christmas Eve. He was with Trump. That's kind of how these people are. So he is going to do his best to carry on with this execution. And because the Senate race is going on and will heat up over the summer and early fall, we feel like he is going to use KJ as his tough on crime. I'm going to make sure cop killers get what they're supposed to get, that sort of thing. So it is political. It is horrible. It is something that we have to, really fight against. And we're starting that process. We're working with his legal team. We're just really trying to humanize KJ and let the world know he is actually an amazing person. He's an author. He is a mentor, and, we want to save him. We don't believe in death anyway, but we definitely want to make sure that KJ is humanized in this media storm that is about to come down. So that's kind of why I reached out to Geechee, because over the summer, it's going to get hot.
Diallo, got anything before I chime in?
Well, I really appreciate this because, I mean, in Black activism in particular and activism in general, they always have this obsession with the ideal victim or the innocent victim, when we're all victims of the system, and that the opposition to the death penalty is a principled one. It's not just about the wrongfully convicted. So I really do appreciate, because in my longstanding opposition to the death penalty, I noticed that there was always this case to try to look for the Rosa Parks of criminal injustice. And so I do commend you guys for standing with this brother, even though he was found guilty or he actually committed the alleged crime, but he is still not worthy of death. And the state should never have the capacity to murder citizens, because even if you are the most law-abiding citizen, that doesn't exempt you from falling victim to the oppressive state and its processes of incarcerating and murdering citizens. So I really do appreciate that this case is getting the exposure.
What was sister's name that Rosa was put in place of?
Claudette.
Thank you.
Right.
I was actually going to say that. I didn't want to interrupt y'all.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We're not supposed to know her name. Y'all breaking the Black history law. It's Rosa Parks.
And I couldn't recall it. It was
exactly.
I couldn't recall it. Thank you,
ML.
You. Thank you. Yeah,
You're
I was struggling.
We're victims, brothers. Our conditioning has been conditioned.
That's right. I was like, man, I could front and do a quick Google, but let me just ask and stop fronting.
Right.
Thank you.
This Rosa Parks obsession for Black justice and Black activism, we need to break it. Looking for the ideal victim or the ideal case. The same thing happened with the Scottsboro boys. The NAACP initially rejected their case because they weren't, upstanding citizens. So I really, really am glad that this case is getting exposure.
Yeah, I think that whole respectability and, needing to, like you said, find the innocence and the upstanding person, that is all tied up in, white supremacist narratives. And we definitely do need to uplift everybody. And we have recently had cases of innocent people on death row who have, received relief. And we're thankful for that. Last fall, there was a Black man named Julius Jones out of Oklahoma, and Julius is innocent. And although he is still incarcerated, he is not on death row at this moment. And so that, we definitely fight for that. And also there are people on our death row who are innocent. A friend of mine, his name is Marcellus Khalifa Williams. He's actually innocent, and we're waiting to get, relief for him. But beyond that, we don't believe people should be. Here's the thing. This country has no moral authority to kill anybody. I don't care what you did. This country has no moral authority to execute anyone, because I told someone the other day, if that's the case, we need to resurrect Washington, Jefferson, and all them and execute them. If we're going to be executing people for the atrocities that they did.
Man, you better leave the founding fathers alone. You can't come on here dragging those honorable white men. And let's not forget, my last name is likely to have derived from George Washington's slave-owning mother. So let's honor the fact that they imposed that name on my father's people, and let's chill on it. No, I'm just playing. But to Ricky's point, I mean, that in that comment, and I'll pull it here again. To my understanding, the whole respectability claim is the strategy. So, in other words, the claim is that we need to tactically promote a more respectable Black figure. So I might disagree with Ricky on that one, but either of you want to follow up on that or respond to that, or maybe not. Okay,
I'll say something real quick. So I think that and some people say Claudette was pregnant. I don't know. I heard she wasn't. But I do know that first she was young. She was, I think, 17 or so, 16, 17. And even if it was a situation where she couldn't withstand the onslaught that was coming, and Rosa was more mature and had a husband, whatever the situation may have been, I don't know, but there was room for more than one person to be uplifted and to be admired and respected for their stance on the segregation at that time. So I'm not going to say that it was all because she was, like I said, I heard she was pregnant. I heard she wasn't, but it was maybe because of just that situation of being young, not being mature in the movement. She had been, from what I recall, taking, I can't say classes, but going to meetings and things of that nature. But it was, I feel like whatever happened, it was strategy. Claudette had did it before, and she was not propped up, to that place. So whatever the reasoning, I feel like it was strategy.
Well, there were actually half a dozen Black women just in that region at that time who had staged the exact same protest that didn't have lawyers. Rosa Parks' lawyers got to the detention or the jailhouse before she did. So it was staged. It was pure political theater. Whereas there were several Black, and I believe, Coven was an unwed mother, but there were also she was also not part of the Black gentry or the established Black class, but they had several young women who staged this protest, and they just weren't ideal women for the various Negro Black bourgeoisie reasons. Professor William Mackey had done a lot of research on that. So
I'm in terms of, you talked about like the death penalty. How do you and your organization respond to execution dates for people like Dylann Roof? And when you respond to that, how does that impact your abilities to organize among Black folks who actually want them dead and stuff like that? So how do you answer and respond to that?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, ML. My bad. That's my bad. Sorry about that.
So I will say this, with Dylann Roof, and I recall also with the man who murdered George Floyd, and I'm thankful I don't remember his name right now, whatever the hell his name was.
Chauvin.
Yeah, so those conversations about killing, death penalty for these particular people, again, we don't believe in executing anyone, because once you with our system, once you give somebody an inch, they're gonna take a mile, right? So if we're going to be okay with certain people being executed, then people can turn that around on us. Now, I definitely believe they need consequences to what they did. They definitely need incarceration. Dylann Roof and Chauvin, but we definitely draw the line at execution for anybody, and I know that may be hard, but I also understand that Black people and poor people get the short end of the stick in anything. We're always more affected. Their saying is, when somebody else catches a cold, we catch the flu. So if I'm going to say, oh yeah, let's execute Dylann Roof, then somebody else is going to come behind me and say, well, what about KJ? So blanketly, we are an organization in this movement overall. If you actually speak to people in a death penalty abolition space, we are blanketly against the death penalty. But of course, these people definitely need to be held accountable for what they did. And one way to hold them accountable initially is not for the media to walk up to Black people, their families, and ask them, do they forgive these people? Don't nobody do that for us. So I just think that even the media, they're not, giving that full accountability, but overall they need to be.
You all are impressive and better than me for sure. I'm definitely not for philosophically opposed to the death penalty. I've just not seen it yet properly applied one time in this society. And if we ever get that straight, I'll be all for it. But let me ask this. Speaking of the death penalty and executions and the comparisons to Roof and others, how did KJ survive that night? How did he survive? I mean, how was he? Because traditionally we would have expected to hear if you shoot at a police officer that you wouldn't have made it. You wouldn't even made it to trial, much less. So I'm just wondering how he survived the encounter.
I can't say exactly. I will say that particular community of the larger white community, Kirkwood is it's pretty insulated. It is a space where they are very, it's one of the richest neighborhoods in our community. So maybe it was a situation of they didn't want, that backlash in the look of that. But I don't know. They, at that point when he shot the cop, they basically grabbed him and arrested him. So today, it is. If it happened today, it may have been different just because the climate we're in, Dr. Ball. But at that point, they arrested him, took him to the local jail and then later transported him to the larger county facility.
Because for the safety of even police officers, I would think that a narrative we wouldn't want to create a narrative where the idea would be that the better way to survive an encounter with the police is to actually shoot them. Because all these unarmed Black men seem unable to survive the encounter. And yet here one is armed, shoots and kills a police officer and still survives the arrest. That is so, but I think your point about the class of and the race and class of the neighborhood is probably more. Geechee, go ahead. The only question I have to make sure we get out before we wrap for today is just, what is it you would want us to do? What is it you're asking for folks to get in, to get to?
So right now, we are, we have started the campaign, the clemency campaign. So the first step is we have created a petition, and that is at change.org /clemency for KJ. And we're asking everybody to sign it and read. So right now it is a process of educating people. A lot of people don't know what happened, and to push back on the future narrative of a cop killer, we just want to really educate everyone now about the situation, what happened, KJ's life. It didn't just happen that day. His whole life had been, very traumatic. So right now it's really to get out the story so that when that, mainstream media barrage comes of, oh, he's a cop killer, he's this and he's that, people will have an understanding and some knowledge about, okay, there was things that were going on, in his life and, before that day. So right now it's really a process of education. An execution date will probably come over the summer. And at that time, we're going to ramp up a little bit more on, we're going to be doing some rallies. We're going to be going to our state capitol. We're going to do some local rallies. We're going to do some phone banking, to our governor, and also, reaching out to different elected officials and those with platforms and power and privilege. So that is definitely to come. But right now, we just want to get KJ's story out there. Our socials is MADPMO at all Facebook, Twitter, and IG. And people can go and like our page, go sign a petition, and really just have that conversation about, KJ is not the worst mistake he made. And, his life has value and he does need to be saved. So that's really what we're hoping to do right now. And on further down the line, once the summer, summer hits, the hot season hits, things will definitely heat up. So we'll have more to do then.
Right on.
Yeah, definitely. I will, that was my question as well, but is that one officer, so that one officer is obviously transitioned. In terms of the other officers that was on the scene, are they being held responsible too for the brother, or is there any kind of backlash with that?
So I'm going to say, Geechee, now they ain't being held accountable. Stop playing. But as far as at that time, there wasn't the attention turned to KJ with the killing of a police officer. So no one was held accountable for the child's his name was Bam Bam. Bam Bam's death. It was basically it was a medical condition, which he did have a medical condition, right? So it was basically chalked up to a medical condition, and they were following procedure, and they had to clear the home, and so nothing was really ever no accountability, and I think that's a problem. Of course, I definitely think that's a problem. He was a 12-year-old Black boy, and of course, Black children overall are not seen as valuable. Of course, then when adulthood comes, so it is a horrible situation, and I've been thinking honestly about how to honor his little brother as well. And I'm going to be talking to KJ about some things we can do, but there was no accountability held for his death. And so it just turned to KJ. So that's where we are now. But yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, MADPMO, and we are a statewide organization. The only one in our state that does this work, and we definitely need support. There are only 3 of us, so I go across the state, and we really just try to work with all our elected officials and all our organizations and partners to and we will abolish the death penalty in Missouri probably in the next couple of years. That's our hope. But it's a lot of work right now. So thank you very much for taking the time with me today.
Thank you.
Anytime, yeah, right on. And thanks to Geechee for putting this together. And anytime you're welcome back here for sure. We're happy to help support as much as possible on my show throughout the platform as well. So yeah, appreciate the work.
And maybe Mr. Kenyatta, since he is a Missouri native, will come and do something with us. I don't have anything yet planned, but I definitely want to see if you'll join us for some events, even if Zoom, maybe in person one day.
Yeah, I'm in Missouri at least 2 to 3 times every year. Mostly Kansas City, the better city in Missouri. But I'm willing to come slum in St. Louis. I'm KC, but like I said, I'll swing through. Absolutely.
Wow.
Anytime, sis.
All right, right on. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
All right.
Anytime. Take good care. All right. Peace, everybody. We'll be back in a quick second. What I like. All right, right on. Very much grateful to ML Smith. Long time doing this work, and appreciate this particular struggle as well. A story I did not know much about or anything about beyond, I think maybe a headline some years ago, but that's about it. So yeah, appreciate that we could get to that a little bit. Now I know that we're set here to talk with some guests about another all too similar case around Donnell Rochester, who was a Morgan State University student and killed by police in Baltimore not that long ago. So we're waiting. I thought I saw one of the guests pop in, but we'll endeavor to get them back here in just a second. In the meantime, do either of you, and I'm trying to wonder where's that clicking coming from, but do either of you have anything you want to get to or respond to or add to? Let me see if I can.
I read quite some time ago about how the veneration of cops and soldiers in a society where I think it was Noam Chomsky actually wrote about this quite extensively in the 90s, talking about how we the cop killer or the death of a cop. And I remember I was working at a trauma center and there was a cop shooting, and they shut down the entire level 1 trauma center, wouldn't allow anyone in or out, and there were several injuries and people who were greatly harmed by the police basically putting the local police, and this is in Missouri, Truman Medical Center, they put the emergency room under siege, under absolute lockdown. They had locked down the emergency room even before the officer had arrived, and it wasn't a life-threatening wound. Before the officer had arrived, they wouldn't allow us to treat any other patients. They wouldn't allow the radiology department or the respiratory therapy department to bring in or do any new cases or treatments. And it's just always when you have a situation where the cops in lives, Michael Parenti, not Noam Chomsky, they all look alike. It was Michael Parenti that taught what? I like those guys. Stop. It was Michael Parenti who wrote extensively about how harmful it is psychologically and culturally to put the police and soldiers as elevated workers or as an elevated or venerated special class of people. And you even have a lot of Black people. Oh, he's a cop killer. As if that's killing a cop is somehow such a much greater tragedy than killing any other citizen or resident within the nation. So
look at how much. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I keep hearing that Noam Chomsky is a watered down version of Parenti. That's what I keep.
I would agree with that. Actually, I actually would agree with that.
And I don't know if I said this before, but I like Avi. I like his daughter Avi a little bit better. I don't know if I'm biased because I did some organizing with her, but she seemed like she put it on the line.
Well, I mean, Christian Parenti, Michael Parenti's son, is more hardcore than him. But I'm not going. I've done enough caping for Bernie. Y'all not gonna have me on here caping for Chomsky too.
No, that's Kamal's job. We got Kamal Franklin for that. That's his favorite white man. So
okay, good. Okay, there's somebody looking out for because he's been good to us. He sure been good to us. Like
MIT checks.
Right, got it. No, but it's a well, no, I'm not saying nothing. You know, as long as y'all leave Bernie alone, I'll let y'all have. I'll throw Noam to the dogs.
Right on. So I see. Let me see. I think we have one of our guests is here. So I want to let me honor their time and maybe they just. I don't know. Hold on a second. Maybe they just left again. Let's see. Make sure that they're set, and then we can bring them on up. Yeah, it looks like we're good to go. So anyway, let me bring up our guest here, Treasurer McNeil. Welcome to the program. And if you would please introduce yourself and then give us a background, if you would, into the case regarding Donnell. And anyway, yeah, and we'll go from there. But please, and again, welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Treasurer McNeil. I'm a student at Morgan State University, and Donnell Rochester was killed on February 13th. He was an 18-year-old high school student, and yeah.
Okay, so first of all, again, welcome. I didn't know you were a Morgan State student, so at some point, I teach there, so we could anyway meet again under better circumstances, perhaps. But so I thought, okay, so Donnell was not a student at Morgan.
No, he was a high school student.
He was a high school student. So what exactly so give us, because I'm not familiar with the case, unfortunately, and I'm and maybe there are others who aren't as well. So maybe if you would just give us a rundown of what happened, and what happened and what are the claims and what would you like to see happen?
So Donnell Rochester was in the area when Baltimore Police Department were doing their surveillance in the same area that he was in, and there were some rumors that there have been robberies going around, and so Baltimore police decided to confront Donnell because they suspected that his car was stolen, but the car is actually in his name and he owns the vehicle, but they still proceeded to confront Donnell and actually shoot fire.
And in fact, this says that they shot him, then handcuffed him and left him to drown, it says, in his own blood in the back of the car. Is that what happened?
Yes. After they handcuffed him, they left him on the ground.
And I think in the video that the video that they have up, it seems like when they ran up to the car, they shot the car first. And then he peeled off because somebody shooting at you. So that I couldn't tell, but that's what it seemed like.
Yeah, they shot into a moving vehicle.
Okay. But what I'm saying, it looks like there was a shot or something before the vehicle even moved, and it seems like it was moving afterwards. But I could have been wrong. I was trying to figure that out. Okay. Yeah.
So they claim it was a traffic stop.
Yeah.
And that he ran? Is that what they're saying? I mean,
yeah, that's what they're saying.
Wow. Okay, so what? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. One of the all of it is disgusting, but another disgusting part that seems to always happen, like as they shoot him and as he get out and falls to the ground, and obviously is no threat, they handcuff him, and while they handcuffing him, they're like yelling at him, where was you hit? Where was you hit? Like they're yelling at him, where you hit? Like he can audibly tell them, oh, calmly, I was hit this place. So I think that was just like, beyond the discussion. Yeah, but just respond to that.
Yeah, they started screaming at him instead of calling for medical attention, which he needed.
Now, I saw it wasn't in the story that I was just looking at there, but I did see in one story that came up that there was discussion of his sexuality, and is this supposed to be playing a part in this? Is it being said that there was something about the police targeting him in addition to his blackness, about his being apparently openly gay? And did I read also that he was active in LGBTQ issues, or just was just known to be openly gay, and that was seen to be a problem? It was somehow related to this. Am I reading again? If I'm, I might be off on that, but I'm just wondering if I saw that correctly when I was quickly looking stories up.
Yeah, Donnell Rochester was openly gay. He was also an activist himself. He was outside when Freddie Gray was lynched during the Baltimore uprising, and then he also stood for LGBTQ rights as well.
But that isn't being said to be part of why he was being targeted. This was just started as so this was just started as a routine random traffic stop that routinely and randomly ended up with another black man being killed by the police. So what is it that the police are saying? They're claiming this was justified. Have charges been brought? And what is the latest there? And then what is it that activists and you and others are asking be done in response?
What we're asking for is for Mayor Brandon Scott to come out and apologize to the family of Donnell Rochester. He congratulated his officers, Connor Murray, Robert Murray, and Connor Murray and Joshua Lutz of the Baltimore Police Department, instead of holding them accountable for actually murdering Donnell. And we also want the family to receive justice.
The mayor, I thought this was the young brother that was changing everything in Baltimore. And he's praising their behavior. So, but again, how are they justifying the shooting though? This is my fault. I didn't get a chance to get caught up in time for today's show, but how is it that they're being said to have acted appropriately if they're shooting at a car over a traffic stop? Are they saying that he evaded? Are they saying that he was shooting? Are they saying that they found weapons? What is it? How is it that it's being determined that the police acted appropriately?
So before Donnell's murder, a cop was recently shot in the same area. So I think that led to him congratulating and protecting the neighbors, even though Donnell himself is a neighbor. And I think that after they suspected him as a thief for the car, I think that's when they decided to act and choose violence instead of actually investigating who the car belonged to.
So,
wow. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So my experience in Baltimore seems to always kind of lead me into some of these meetings where ain't shit going on. But is there supposed to be some the city or Brandon is doing some kind of accountability board, and they was talking about it? Like, have you heard anything about that? Like holding law enforcement accountable?
No, Brandon hasn't come out and said anything regarding Donnell Rochester's story.
Okay, wow. Yeah, I was reading something where they said they mentioned they mentioned something about him and I don't know if his mom was at their meeting, but some accountability team they was kind of mentioning his name, but I didn't see anything that Brandon said either. So.
I'm just trying to look at this story. Okay, so well, listen, Treasure, what else would you like us to leave with, and what would you like to see people do? going forward. And then what's this question, Josh? Journalist called him a man in reporting despite being 18. Okay, so is the reporting trying to describe him as being more of a threat, and trying to diminish the fact that he was still in high school, and therefore I guess somehow deserving of being killed is apparently the point. That if he was in fact 18 and not in high school, this would have been more justified somehow. And the police are getting a $6.5 million upgrade in their revenue. Okay, they're being given more funding. Well, apparently they need more training.
So,
all right. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yo, one more question. So they, again, the body cam that I saw, it didn't seem like there was some encounter before, but Harrison is saying that they approached him, and when they approached him, it made him get back in the car. So is there like more story about he was outside of the car and he got back in the car and tried to run from them, or like like the details of that?
I'm pretty sure they ran into Donnell when he was going to his car, and I think that he decided to try to take off.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. But wait a minute. So I'm looking up a story here that was part of the claim that he had a carjacking warrant for him.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why they were looking for him in particular?
Yeah, they believe the car was stolen, but there is evidence showing that the car belongs to him.
Right.
So then was that the car that was connected to the carjacking charge?
They think so.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
They think that the car is stolen, but Donnell has the registration forms and all the necessary paperwork that prove that that's his car.
But I'm even just in terms of even what is being raised here in terms of the reporting. Mm-hmm. I'm just looking at this that again, I don't know the specifics of the law here, but in terms of framing journalistically, it certainly sounds worse to say wanted for carjacking as opposed to even in possession of a stolen car or a stolen vehicle. That because carjacking suggests a violent crime has taken place, which escalates, at least in the mind's eye of a news consumer. This is much worse than even that. They slipped away with somebody's car in the middle of the night, getting off the street or whatever. So the Baltimore Sun, in making the reference to a carjacking charge, anyway, that seems to be why they would be, giving themselves, the police, that is justification for looking for him, approaching him, and then certainly in covering their killing of him, because again, people reading about the killing of an 18-year-old man carjacker is a lot different than high school kid in possession of a stolen car, because dare I say, many of us in our days and times as young people could have been accused of being in possession of a stolen car simply by taking, a ride in a friend's vehicle or a friend's parents' vehicle or even your own parents' vehicle without permission. So anyway, is there any of that you would want to respond to, Treasure, or help us clarify?
Yeah, in the first article that Baltimore Sun released, they tried to criminalize Donnell and diminish the fact that he was a child.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the things that I'm reading, it seemed like I don't know if this is new development. There's new development after this, but at the time, the report, Harrison said that they're unclear what made the officer open fire. Like, they were still unclear about that, but was there any clarity around that of what in particular made them fire? And again, you said that he was walking back to his car. That mean before they approach him, when they approach him, like, you have any clarity around that?
So they are saying that they shot Donnell because one of the officers were hurt because Donnell hit him. But in the video, it shows that none of the officers were ever interacting with Donnell.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be curious to see the video, because again, if officers are on the scene and they're reporting that he was walking back to his car, I'll be curious to see that, because all I saw was I guess 3 different body cams that they're running towards the car and then the car peeling off or whatever. But I didn't see any interaction outside of the him outside of the car, which is interesting. But I don't know if there's any video of anybody else was out there recording or anybody else on the scene other than the officers and Donnell.
They believe that no one else was there besides Donnell and the officers.
Wow.
Well, Treasure, listen, you're welcome here anytime, and definitely consider signing up for your Black Studies courses while you're at Morgan State University. Come on through, holla at me beyond just this point. And anything I can do while you're at Morgan, anything we can do as a platform to support this particular issue, just to definitely be back in touch. You're welcome here anytime. And unless you want to stick around, because I do believe Donnell's mother is set to join us here in a moment. I don't know if you wanted to be here for that. But I think she'll be joining us here any second. But as we continue to try to, but anyway, but if not, you're welcome back anytime. And we're definitely open to keeping our eye up on this story going forward. For sure. So yeah, did you want to stick around, or did you have anything else you wanted us to hear from or hear about, Treasure?
No, I'm gonna let Miss Danielle have her time, and I just wanted to thank you guys for giving us this platform to boost the story, because Donnell deserves justice.
Absolutely.
Right on. Anytime. Thank you very much for coming through. We appreciate you. Take good care.
You too.
All right, everybody. I think we expected to hear from Donnell's mother any moment now, and definitely appreciate Treasure for coming through, and continue to learn more and cover this story as it goes on.
Jerry,
I've noticed that all these stories have the same paragraph in them about how he wanted to move to California and was a fan of Nicki Minaj. I don't know why. I don't know what. Anyway, I'm just seeing it pop up in every one of these stories I'm looking at. Anyway, go ahead, Geechee.
No, I saw that too. I think his mother comment that he liked Nicki Minaj, and I think they kind of ran with that.
And that's the one thing that they're holding on to, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I was about to say, I blame you for convincing me to watch this We Own the City or whatever. I ended up watching it, and I was like, because the names and some of the people, like I think when they was talking about Denisha Martin, and I know some of the work that she was doing, and it's kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, it overlaps with what we're talking about here this morning. That just what we may be seeing in these cases, both in Baltimore and in St. Louis, are claims made by the police that justify their behavior, and it seems to be routine. That not seems to be, it is routine. That will happily step over a seizing young child to go try to get another one. We will highlight the fact that someone is accused of, or is a cop killer, or is accused of carjacking, and we'll call it carjacking, despite I honestly don't know what it was. If did he? Are they saying he really ran up on somebody and pulled out? It was like, get out, or is it? Hey, I'm gonna borrow your car real quick and take it to the store.
Right.
And in either case, you're in possession of a car that's not yours, And then if you watch that series, as I'm watching that series, it is a reminder that the police will do whatever.
Yeah.
And they're backed up by DAs and all kinds of stuff, and chains of command that will support all kinds of stuff. So
they're also backed up by citizens. I was reading this book called Locking Up Our Own.
Yeah.
And the Black community has an overlooked history of supporting get tough on crime policies and zero tolerance policies. And I was reading a news article about Freddie Gary years ago that when the officers were arraigned, there were several members of the Black community and Black community leaders who came to the court in support of the officers. And they told the reporters there, who was like, who were actually surprised to see a coalition of Black community support for homicidal officers. And most of the officers in the Freddie Gray case were Black. And they told the reporters, like, you guys don't understand what it's like. These kids out here are insane, and we need these police to keep us safe from our children.
Absolutely.
So, this is a symbiotic relationships. A lot of times, a lot of that gets swept under the rug whenever there's a publicized atrocity. But then after the protests die down, we go back to this intimate relationship between the Black ministers and the police. My son was just part.
Sorry, Diallo, I don't want to forgive me for cutting you off, but I see that this Miss Brown is here, so I want to just welcome her and give her time if we can. Miss Danielle Brown is joining us, the mother of Donnell Rochester, and we appreciate you coming through. Terribly sorry for your loss, and welcome you to share with us anything you will. If I can, just a quick reset. 2 Baltimore City police officers ended a relationship that Miss Brown had with her son when they shot and killed him on February 9th. Police said officers Robert Maury and Connor Murray pulled Rochester over at around 3 p.m. in the 3200 block of Hillen Road, which is not far from Morgan State University. The cops believe that car Rochester was driving may have been connected to a robbery. Police officials said Rochester initially stepped out of the vehicle, then got back inside the car and drove off. The officer said Rochester struck one of them as he drove off. However, Chief Harrison said the claim is still being investigated. Against the department's policy, Maury and Murray proceeded to fire bullets at Rochester's moving vehicle. The high school senior was taken to the local hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. So that is the official story. Ms. Brown, again, welcome. And please tell us anything you'd like us to know about this situation.
Donnell Rochester, he died February 19th. He was supposed to be getting pulled over for a warrant. But as he was pulled over, he got out the car and was running and got back into his vehicle. And he didn't even get a chance to drive the vehicle. The officer stood in front of the vehicle and started shooting. Donnell get out the car, surrender, and never hit the officer, but the officers could have took Donnell to the hospital, yet he was laying there for over 12, 13 minutes for the medic to come. So I feel like if they probably would have took him to the hospital earlier, he probably would still be here. Or didn't shoot him at all, because I didn't understand what was the reason for them to shoot.
Yeah, the claim in the report is that this is not police policy, and yet it seems to happen over and over again. But because there's nothing in there that claims that your son had a weapon or was attacking the police officer. So that what we were talking about before you got here was that some of the reporting is claiming that the warrant was for, quote, carjacking, which I'm suggesting is meant to make readers feel like there was a more violent criminal involved, and that's why the police needed to be so violent. But is there anything you would want to say about that claim?
No, I did. That was his, okay. The carjacking, I just found out yesterday, and my son told me, and we talked about it when the day of it happened. He was getting into an Uber, him and 4 friends. No, excuse me, him and 3 friends. And here, I guess in Maryland, you only allowed to have 3 passengers. Donnell was upset. The Uber driver was aggressive. Only thing Donnell was trying to do was get out the vehicle, but while he was getting out, the Uber driver was being smart. So that is what made Donnell, be like, a little aggressive. They got the Uber car. His shoe got off. He was trying to put his shoe back on, and him and the Uber driver was going back and forth. So they try to say carjacking, but how the way he was explaining to me, he never took nobody's vehicle. So I don't understand why would they say carjacking and armed robbery. He never took his vehicle.
So earlier, I was asking the sister about the accountability board, and I think they have you quoted on there. Like, what's going on with this accountability board? I think they said that it quoted that you have some high hopes for the formation of the board, but what have you heard about it, and what's the deal with it?
I believe they since last week, I believe they meet every Wednesday. The next one is June the 8th. I don't know if they're going to sign off on a bill or not, but hopefully the bill will get, passed to make these police officers accountable for what they be doing out here.
And what kind of people are on this board?
The councilmen, it's just the councilmen, like for each district.
Oh, okay. So it's not okay. No community leaders or members, because I think they said community leaders was at the meeting, but they're not a part of the board at all.
No, they're not a part of the board. No, just the councilmen, but they are looking into getting the free community people on the board.
So just in general, what kind of support are you in particular looking for? What would you like us and others to do?
Bring more awareness, for Donnell, or if people can make, like we be out here protesting, if people could come to the protest, things like that, and we'll like share it on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Show support. We coming to New York next month, June the 24th. They want to do something in honor of Donnell. So we working on that as well.
So I'm only just unfortunately learning about this case and the killing of your son, and unfortunately don't know much more than what I'm reading about and hearing today. But beyond that particular incident, what could you tell us about Donnell as a person? What kind of young man was he? Donnell, that we're not hearing about. Mm-hmm.
Donnell was the type of person that it's like when he wake up in the morning, he's smiling. It's like he lived his life like today was his last. If he'd get up, get him some breakfast, do what he had to do for himself, his outfit had to match from head to toe. If it didn't, he's not going outside. Like, that's the type of person he was. And if you fuss with him, he'd be like, girl, I'm not even thinking about nothing you talking about. I live life. You go ahead and be miserable. It's like he loved to travel. He loved New York. He came there like a lot of times. Went to Miami. He just was a funny person. And he cared about people, like whoever was around him. Like when he leave your, if he leave, I love you, Danny, or I love you, Mom. He says those 3 words a lot. And he was caring. You could tell he not here because the house too quiet.
Mm.
He always was so loud and extra. for nothing, just so loud. He loved fashion. He loved singing, and he loved Nicki Minaj.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
The narrative that they have about Donnell Rochester, that is not it. He wouldn't carry a gun and things like that. No, he don't even own one.
No, well, I mean, and I'm so glad you laid that out for us. I mean, that what is being described, at least in some of these reports, as a warrant for a carjacking was related to an incident over an Uber in which nobody took nothing and no weapons were involved. That's a very important. That's very important. And unfortunately, being left out of some of these narratives. So I'm very glad you were able to share that. Absolutely.
I'm glad that you had me on here to share. Thank you.
No, as we were told, as I told Treasure, you, she, whoever are welcome here anytime to update us or to ask for support for something, or honestly, if you just want a public platform to vent on, you're welcome here anytime, and we're happy to be here for that.
Appreciate it.
Geechee Diallo, any other questions or comments from Ms. Brown?
No, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'm very sorry for your losses.
Okay, thank y'all.
Yes, indeed. Anytime. Take good care, Ms. Brown.
Y'all too. Thank you.
All right. All right, everybody. Definitely thanks to Josh for helping put that interview together, or those interviews together. We definitely are happy to stay aware and involved with all of these stories, both from that we're hearing about from Ms. Brown and from ML Smith. And I'm glad that she was able to clarify that, because even before she got here, I was asking the question, what does carjacking mean? Like, where does that come into the whole thing? And then she comes in here and explains that it's an issue over an Uber controversy or whatever, where no weapons were involved and no car was stolen. So yeah,
there's an unwritten policy of prosecutorial overcharging in order to motivate the accused to plead out to lesser charges. So a lot of times the prosecutor will charge a crime that they couldn't really advance or get a conviction on, but it's a much greater crime than what was actually carried out. So I mean, so many times I've had young people and friends and acquaintances go through the criminal justice system, and they will hit them with these just absurdist charges in order to get them to plead to a lesser case so that they aren't tempted to take it to trial. So, that's something, another just one of many ongoing issues with the criminal justice system in the U.S.
Earlier when Diallo was talking about like our emotional connection to the state and the state terrorists, when I'm seeing that when that movie, the show that we're talking about, We Own the City, and this concept of like, I think the son who was getting in the car at one point, and they ran up on him with guns, and they like tried to speed off, and this concept of, oh, well, we shouldn't have run, or why we running. It's like, having guns pointed at you, don't matter if it's the cop or a regular person. You ain't gonna sit there.
Well, in the context of the show, they were not in uniform and didn't even have badges out. So the dude was like, "You ran up on me pointing guns. What the hell am I supposed to do?" Right. And then kind of like, I remember when I was young, man, my first time seeing a cop plant something on somebody was like literally in my front yard. I was like, they literally searched him, couldn't find it, walked away, came back and like, oh, what's this? I'm like, so like this emotional connection to the state terrorists obviously come from movies and all these other things that we see, because even in those movies where you're seeing, they call Baltimore cops the most criminal cops in the U.S., but then they got to show you the good cops that's prosecuting or trying to get the bad cops. So it's literally this well, delusion. I forgot the artist's name, but like that classic jazz joint that Michelle and Gacello once remade, was titled "Compared to What." So you could say, Baltimore is the worst, but compared to what? You know what I'm saying? Like how good is the group they're being compared to? Because as we heard from ML, St. Louis, what's the difference? LA, DC, wherever.
Charleston,
and even in remote counties where I didn't even know existed, much less people live in, we hear the same stories. So it's
Just 3 years ago, the NAACP had issued its first travel advisory in almost 50 years for Missouri, because the Missouri Highway Patrol, and that goes back to the Green Book era, where the NAACP would put out alerts to the larger community, stating that this area is a area of focus and concern, and even advising against Black people or African Americans from traveling in those regions. And Missouri, I think, is the only state that was under that travel NAACP. I mean, and by the time the NAA, you too outlandish for the NAA, they're very highly tolerant of institutional oppression. So Baltimore, they really got to be wild. But yeah, maybe it's that show. I have to check that show out because
look, I mean, the show is the reality is the show is, I think, very well done. It's entertaining. It's easy to watch. It's in some ways even well acted. But it does follow the standard. Even in the last episode where the sister actually tells the cop, tells somebody she's talking to that the police are acting as you would see in a colony. She even uses the word colony and colonialism. And I was like, honestly, when I see stuff like that, I'm like, y'all shady. You watch our show and then drop some language in your script to make people think something is happening. Is not. Stop faking.
That's that nonprofit skill.
It's that slick, little. We're gonna drop something in there so even the radicals think that something is happening. And but the overall theme is, again, that I think that despite whatever these rogue cops are doing, the institution is correcting itself, and that there are all of these other good cops and attorneys and politicians that are doing the best they can. But just that it's so complicated out here, you know.
It's there's no such thing as a good cop. I have a personal friend, who basically had to leave the city. He came from an affluent family, and for some reason he was motivated to be a cop, and so he went to college and everything, but he just wanted to, put on that uniform and patrol the streets. And so anyway, he said they have, I don't know if it's a mentorship or training where rookie cops have to travel with veteran cops for a certain amount of time. And he said he rode around with this white veteran cop that was just, abusing and arresting and harassing and tormenting the Black community. And he said the few times they had interactions with white criminals, it was just so very obviously a difference. And so there was this one instance where this old Black man who was in his 80s with a really nice Cadillac was pulled over, and he had a .22 revolver because it's an elderly man with a really nice car on the south side of Chicago. And the cop wanted to call in the wagon and just throw the book at this guy over a pistol. And the officer, one of my friend had told his supervising officer that he's like, I've seen you let white people get away with ordnance, with military grade weapons, and just give them a warning but you're gonna, lock this elderly man up over a .22. So he basically intervened. And so there was a basically almost a physical confrontation on the side of the street between these two officers. And so when he got back to the precinct, he thought that when he got called up to the white shirts or to the administrators, that he was going to be commended for his actions. Because, just trying to do what they got here, like community policing. And he was dragged, and threatened. And to the point where he, when the time was right, he resigned from the police force. There are no good cops and there was the other sister that got in between the officer. And no, there was some case, I have to pull it up, where there was an officer. No,
you talking about the meme with the Black lady yelling at the white officer? That's what you talking about?
No, there was a officer who was committing a crime against a citizen, and another officer intervened to stop the officer, and that officer was fired. So there are no good officers, because generally the only good officers are fired, resigned, and that's it. Because if you you either have to participate in the crimes or give a blind eye to the crime. So either way, you're not a good person if you're overlooking corruption within your institution. But there's really no way to be a good cop. There's just so many stories going out here where cops try to, quote unquote, do the right thing, and the department comes down on them much harder than they do on the actual corrupt officers.
So I can't get the brother to come on the show with me, but I still love his work. And this is my answer whenever anybody wants to ask me about one good cop. Just go get Wise Intelligence, the Blue Klux Klan, and play the track One Good Cop. And to Diallo's point, I think that this is my response. I'll let Wise Intelligence speak for me on that.
He'll come on if you stop hating on crypto. Maybe you could get him on.
The brother
trying to keep black people poor.
But I love him to death because he comments on every Instagram post I make about crypto. He's got something to say.
Right.
We never agree. And I just keep saying, it doesn't just have to be, anyway.
Stop hating on crypto.
I mean,
if you want to get the brother on the show, he's a good brother.
He is a good brother. That's what I'm saying. He's one of my favorite MCs of all time. I have profound respect for him. So it's just, we can have a friendly disagreement, anyway.
He actually agreed what I said about the crypto. When he was talking about the Freedmen's Bank, he said something on the post, and I was explaining how they used Frederick Douglass to try to cover it up after, and he was a celebrity being used just like they use celebrities with the crypto. He agreed to it, so I mean, maybe he's coming around.
Look at Emma. Emma stays hating on me. I don't know why folks that know they love me and this platform so much stay hating on me. But check it out, Emma, who is great helping run our Discord. Everybody should check out. Go to the link in the show notes and get the Discord. But yeah, I watched. Look, if you watch,
that's a good video.
That's what I'm saying, Diallo.
That line goes up.
Tell them something, brother. That's what I'm saying. The line goes up is an incredibly good video. It's almost got 8 million views at this point. Talking about the history not only of NFTs but of blockchain and crypto. They go through the whole thing, and it is excellent. You have to watch it. So yeah, I do watch those videos. I've learned a lot. Listen, that quality, that level of YouTube video, and there are a number of them, are to me the equivalent, or should be the equivalent of academic peer review. Well, they're not peer reviewed, but they should be they're just under, for me, a peer-reviewed academic journal article in terms of quality and substance, and what I think should be taken as their validity. And if they just went through some peer review process, I would put them at that same level. But even without that, I think they're remarkable, and I've learned a lot. So yeah, I would, and that line goes up one is truly a phenomenal and very well produced video. I would encourage everybody to watch that joint. Anyway.
Diallo, you gotta get Wise and Sean on. That's what you gotta do, man. We have a roundtable discussion.
It's Shayoun.
Shayoun, my bad.
Yeah, he jumped on me about that too. I got cursed out for calling him Sean. Like, what's the difference, man? Yeah, but I don't know. I actually had made a statement critical of crypto. I was talking about, where it's like, if we said that, I was just talking about how currency has evolved, with the Spanish doubloons and bullion and gold standard to fiat to crypto, and how Black people basically are standing within the hierarchy of power and being subjected to oppression or racism has never been directly affected by whatever currency was around at the time. And, Wise acknowledge that this crypto, a lot of times the promises of what crypto can do for the African condition is oversold. So I mean, he's open to criticisms. It's just hateration. I think that's the problem. Just don't hate. Hating on crypto is just, I think.
Listen, I'm down to I don't know Shayoun, so but if you all, I'm happy to, they're welcome.
I want to. I know we talk about Fela all the time, but I want to talk about his grandmother. Like she was pretty solid, like body slamming people, and she. That's what I want.
Shayoun, he's a good friend of mine. I can holler at him, but they just now opening things up. He's touring and producing, but I mean he makes time, and he's building a political party there in Nigeria.
Hold up. Hold up. Speaking of people that love to hate me, boy, what's up, Walter? Walter been critical. Walter got something to say, not here, but Walter got something to say about me all the time for years.
Wait, he went on Karen Hunter?
And that's what I want to know. So did Wise Intelligent actually go on Karen Hunter's show? Stop playing.
I never seen that.
Stop playing. Maybe I'm not big enough for Wise. I can understand that. He's a legend. On some level, I'm not mad at that. He deserves a bigger platform. So he should help grow this one by coming on. No, he was on, but he's been on Riot Starter though. He's cool with Kalani.
Okay, see, there you go.
I mean,
they weren't talking about crypto though.
Listen, Karen Hunter, the way she interviews, she's like she camouflage into the guests, so she probably praised them half of the time if she was on that, because she, and she'll cut really quick like she did your girl Mersha.
Oh, why are you calling Karen Hunter's show whack though? Oh, beef in the chat. So listen, fellas. So as we get ready to wrap up here, let me let you all talk about anything you wanted to, if you got something coming up you want to let us know about, or and I will let folks know next week we are going to be talking about reparations because next Friday Nkechi Taifa is going to be joining us to talk about reparations, given her new TED Talk that just dropped on the subject. So definitely everybody should, of course, be on BPM all the time, but make sure you're back here next Friday morning for that. But yeah, fellas, what's coming up? What's going on?
Well, on the next Bro Diallo broadcast, Monday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, Q4 Radio, I'm going to be talking about climate change and certain benchmarks that we've met, and certain benchmarks the planet has met and surpassed, and some of the insane non-solutions being proposed by capitalists to address climate change that are driving us deeper into crisis, existential threat, and omnicide, which is the death of all complex life forms, which is where we're rapidly approaching. And crypto is a big part of advancing that, actually. So,
ALD Sun. Oh, my bad. ALD Sunday in Baltimore. And no, I won't be there because, frankly, I'm too bougie and I got a soccer tournament. So I'll be a baby girl soccer tournament all weekend, starting tonight, all weekend long. Soccer dadding it up, but I'm with you all in spirit at least. And encourage others to go check it out. Lafayette Square.
Lafayette.
Right on.
And the NRA convention is this weekend.
Word.
Yeah, and if you intend to go, they have banned guns on the ground. So if you plan on going to the NRA convention, leave your gun at home.
Where is it?
I don't know. Somewhat. I don't know. I ain't going.
They didn't tell you. They didn't tell you.
I didn't look at the location. I just read an article about the them banning guns.
That's funny.
On the grounds of the.
It's
NRA
almost as
convention.
funny. It's almost as funny as the people who come on here to debate me about crypto, who sell courses on crypto that you can't pay for in crypto.
It's weird. And another thing about these crypto people, I've met a few millionaires in my life. And I've never met a millionaire that actually wanted or was interested or cared about whether or not I got rich, or trying to tell me how to get rich. I don't understand that if crypto is the windfall that it is, why are they so interested in getting anybody else rich? Most millionaires, you don't meet most wealthy people in industries just going up to random people like, hey, you need to get this money over here with me. That's just not something.
Well, I mean, that's what the financial gurus are selling now. And they're going around saying, I've created 20 millionaires. So
I'll just say, if you're rich and you want me to be rich, just give me money directly. Don't tell me how to get the money. Just give it to me. I don't go to a bakery to figure out how to bake the pie. Just give me the damn pie. Straight up.
Listen,
give me. I'm a socialist.
Every time when those venture marketer people, when they used to approach me like, oh, you can buy into the business, I was like, well, if I'm going to make that much money, how about you buy into the business for me? You pay for my fees and you pay all those things. But yeah, I'm the same way. I want the money directly.
Ain't no logic in it.
Give me the loop. Give me the loop.
And speaking, I did see that comment. Speaking of football, yep, it was a great conclusion to the Premier League. And another reason why I can't do African Liberation this weekend is because while I'm at soccer tournaments, I'm going to be watching the final of the Champions League while on the sideline of my daughter's game. Saturday afternoon, Real Madrid versus Liverpool, Champions League final. Can't miss that. So, yeah.
What?
Me, Emma, I did. Football. Wait till I take over.
I guess,
football all day.
You're literally the first Yankee boy I ever seen into soccer. Like, I just you're truly a unicorn. You truly are a unique figure. You're the first brother I ever seen.
Look at that. Lots of Africans on Liverpool side. Sadio Mane. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean,
you're the first African American I've ever seen into soccer. That's wild. Like,
nah,
like my West Indian homies and my homies from the continent. I just have to tune them out. Like when it comes to soccer or football. But you know, gosh, yeah, that's peculiar.
Anyway,
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
Nobody said who bootlegging the Tank fight tomorrow. Tank from Baltimore. Nobody. Tank Javante. Come on, man. You tell them about the Baltimore. Y'all know about the Baltimore fighters. Floyd Mayweather got a Baltimore fighter named Javante Tank Davis. He's supposed to be fighting tomorrow.
Oh yeah, the little tattoo.
Yeah,
he left.
Man.
He left Mayweather Promotions.
Nah, well,
didn't he? Or he announced?
No, I think Mayweather's still associated with some kind of way. I don't know, but
I don't know, man. When y'all talk about
somebody bootleg that and let me get up in there because I can't pay.
I'm out of the loop. When y'all want to talk about video games, I can jump in. I'm gonna have to sit back. Y'all talking about sports.
It's all FIFA all day for me. That's the video game. That's it. That's it. And they just broke their contract with they lost their contract, so only one more year of FIFA, and then there's going to be a new game that with ESPN, not ESPN, but EA Sports.
What do you got, a PlayStation or Xbox or
Xbox? I have an old used Xbox One.
Xbox One.
And I only use it for one game. I only played the one game. It's just the one game.
Yeah, I hope I get an Xbox S for my birthday.
Oh boy!
No, I'm just.
Now we've truly devolved on the platform.
Hey, yeah, I send you my gamer tag. I didn't know you was on the Xbox.
I mix what I like everywhere. So yeah, I'm there.
But I ain't playing no FIFA.
I mean, so maybe you could drag me into something else. I'm open to it, and my semester's over. So I allegedly have work to do, but
me too. Yeah, I could. Anyway, yeah. Monday's Bro Diallo show. We're gonna be talking about the end of all life, all complex life forms. So if you're feeling good and you're optimistic, tune in, and I can fix that for you. Get you back down. Bring you back down.
Pessimism kicked in.
Right? Yeah, I'll bring you down like Bobby did Whitney.
Hey, I feel some type of way that we're gonna be Black Power Media, and y'all talking about game systems, and y'all ain't got Soldier Boy game system. Y'all, I don't even know if y'all can continue the show if y'all ain't support Soldier Boy.
It's discontinued. I looked into the Soldier Boy Soldier games. They're discontinued. He got a cease and desist order from Nintendo and Sony.
Damn.
So.
Wow, for real?
We can't circulate the black dollar over there then. Okay.
Well, then he signed on with another gaming company, but it was like online gambling. Because gambling, get confused. There's two type of gamers. There's like video gamers, and then there's gamblers, are also called gamers. So he kind of went into online and digital gambling more so than video games.
So when academics said that he didn't want to get in on the business deal, I guess he was foreseeing that it was going to lead to something bad. Damn.
But he wants to be a billionaire. I hope he gets there.
No doubt, get there. We've dealing with the real. You're hilarious. We've already dealt with this, but just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. That's all I can say. Stay tuned.
Y'all been debating herbs?
Well, earlier last year during the COVID vaccine debate, we had a number of backs and forths over all of that. And Dealing with the Real was in the chat last night, talk about how Dr. Sebi was legit, and I disagree entirely. So that's what that comment is about. But all I can say is stay tuned. Make sure you've got the bell clicked on the platform so you don't miss nothing.
I've been keeping, I watch Black Cults, and the Usha Institute, Sebi's organization, is flirting with that. Is on the verge of crossing that line, and now they got a crucified savior or a martyr for their cause in Dr. Sebi. So the Usha Institute is coming very, very close.
Yeah, we did a bunch on this. You got to go back. You missed too many shows Dealing with the Real. We had a whole bunch of debates about it last year.
Yeah,
but I have no plans to do this. Gerald Horne writes faster than I can read. So I didn't even know he's got a new book on this. I have not read the book.
Yeah.
So
he's supposed to be going in detail about Juneteenth more too. So I do want to get that book. The book on Texas. Okay.
And yeah, this is because I said so. That's right. Dr. Sebi was not legit only because I said so.
No, but listen. There are actually some herbalists who came out of his cloth who actually critique him and said that he had a lot of things wrong. There's some herbalists that came from under him.
Chronic disease. Well, I mean, just that whole mucus is disease and
wrong. It's scientifically wrong.
And mucus,
the alkaline stuff is scientifically
right.
Wrong.
Is alkaline. Yeah. So a lot of his claims, as far as his products, I never used them. I can't vouch for his products, but if he was producing products based on his claims about, human anatomy and physiology and health and disease prevention, if his products were based on that, his so-called research or reasoning, then I can't say that I would ever use his products. But I can't speak to the quality of his product.
Admitted I can't either, but I admitted last night that during that whole thing online or whatever chat we were in, but my whole thing was, as soon as I heard him say I don't read books, that's my bias right there. Like, I know books aren't everything, and you can't trust everything written in a book. But if your fundamental method and approach involves not reading books, I'm already turned off. So I just admit a bias there. I do admit a bias on that one. Thanks, Lucy, for the super chat. Stay hydrated, well rested, and breathe deeply. I think that's a good start, and I appreciate the super chat. Listen, I gotta run, everybody. So I really appreciate you, brother Diallo, Geechee, y'all, and all the remixers for coming through. Big shout out to our guests for coming through this morning and helping us get clear on a couple of these cases. Definitely big respect to the family and of Donnell Rochester and Miss Brown, his mother, for coming through. Definitely thank you for that, and to Treasure for coming through as well, and to ML Smith for coming through. We definitely appreciate all of that. We'll continue to cover these stories. Thanks to Josh and Aaliyah for helping prepare the program. Thanks again to you, Geechee, for the same. And good brothers, have a good weekend, and to the same to all the rest out there, all the good remixes.
All right, y'all brothers be safe, and I'll see y'all next Friday.
All right, everybody. Thanks again. As Fred used to say, to you, we say peace because we know you're willing to fight for it. So peace, everybody. Catch you next time. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. What I like, what I like.